Hey folks, Drew here from the Red Letters Dialogues. Well, Hillsong is in full damage control mode. Brian Houston is out and about, and Carl Lentz has become silenced. Or it could be that he was silenced by the organization because they don't want him speaking, due to the fact that they have been as ambiguous as possible as it pertains to the homosexual question. And I think now we have an appropriate idea of why they have been so relativistic with their answers on the issue of homosexuality. It seems as if for years this individual, Josh Canfield, along with his homosexual copulating buddy Reed Kelly, have been active participants in Hillsong's ministries, and now this came back, the ambiguity came back to blow up in their face, and they're doing a full court press of public relations in order to try to appease anyone that might become indignant, and therefore what suffers here are the profits and, of course, the head count. Remember that tens of thousands of people assist Hillsong meetings throughout the world. Remember that they have different campuses in different places spread out throughout the globe. If I'm not mistaken, their main campus is in Australia. The one that is in New York is headed by ambiguous preacher Carl Lentz. If I'm not mistaken, they have another campus in LA, etc. And again, from 2009, according to reports, it seems as if Josh Canfield was already affirming that he had taken an active participatory role in many of the ministries of Hillsong. And now, since this has become gone viral, as it is said in our day and age, through an independent blog, the controversy has reached a fever pitch, and now Brian Houston is doing everything he can to appease anyone that might become angered, especially from the Christian community, about this situation. Anyone that knows their Bible understands that we should not keep friendships. We should not call the world our friends. But this is what they have been affirming for the longest time, and this is what I would like to touch on. Again, I think the statements of Mr. Josh Canfield prove 2009 in his Twitter account, 2015 via a playbill.com article that was published, in which he is quoted as saying, quote here, "I became truthful with my church. I'm a part of Hillsong New York City. I'm one of their choir directors. I also sing on their worship team. They've been amazing as well. Nothing has changed there now that I'm completely out, and with Reed, he sings in the choir as well." So this is January of this year. So it seems as if they knew that they had homosexuals participating in leadership capacities at the local church, but this has become more promulgated, and now Brian Houston is having to answer questions due to the fact that he has said that he adheres himself to what the Bible has to say on the issues of homosexuality, but in certain other aspects, he also says that they are a gay-welcoming church, but that homosexuals can't hold positions of leadership in the church, and he calls that vexing. No, I call that contra-biblical. But I'd like to focus in this video on the statements that Carl Lentz and Brian Houston have both declared in the past, stating that they both have homosexual friends, and they wear this as a badge of honor. And this is typically what politicians who are looking for more votes and sympathy from the public at large, and many others, business tycoons and other individuals, would say this, even though they don't personally believe it. Somehow they believe that if they say this publicly, the public will be much more sympathetic towards them and buy their products or consume what it is that they have to offer, because they align themselves with the LGBT movement, which seems to be the trend nowadays. And now many Christian pastors, people like Lentz and Houston, are stating the same thing, as if somehow this is worthy of Christian approbation. But the truth of the matter is that these individuals are trying to appease a group that will never ever be sympathetic towards true Christianity, and that is the world. Jesus says that the world will hate us because it hated him, and the reason that it hates him is because he testifies that the works of the world are evil. If you're going to be salt and light, if you're going to be part of the pillar and ground of truth, therefore you will amass the world's wrath against you, because you are a convicting presence in the midst of a society, in the midst of a culture that wants to be steeped in licentiousness and libertinism. So the true salt and light, they will always find opposition in the world. Jesus says you will face persecution in the world. Paul says the same thing. If you would like to live in a godly manner, he writes to Timothy, you will suffer persecution. And this may come in many different ways, shapes, or forms. But these individuals are more worried about appeasing sinners, and therefore they try to be as ambiguous as possible. They try to employ words that are not convicting, that are not in line with the absolute truth, everything that Christ taught, but eventually it came back to blow up in their face. And what does the Bible have to say about keeping friendships with homosexuals? Because this is a very dangerous idea. Both Carl Lentz and Brian Houston have stated the same thing. There's a link below. You can click on it. This is the small article, the short article that I wrote for redlettersdialogues.com, which gives you a bit of a background on this entire controversy, and also my personal thoughts as well as the quotes, which I am alluding to here now. But suffice it to say, this is what the Bible has to say on the matter to prove whether or not of what Carl Lentz and Brian Houston and many other Christian pastors are doing, which is keeping friendships with the world, with those that walk in ways that are not dignified of the Lord, if this is truly biblical or not. First and foremost, let's allude to James chapter number 4, verse 4. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. Couldn't be more explicit than that. We find also in John chapter number 15, Jesus says the following: if ye do what I command you, notice the caveat, ye are my friends, if ye do what I command you. Henceforth I will not call you servants, for the servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth, but I have called you friends, for all things that I have heard of my Father I have made known to you as well. And last but not least, I refer you to 1 Corinthians chapter number 5. We find a situation where a man was having illicit sexual relationships with his father's wife. That would be, I guess, his stepmother. And Paul says, let us give his flesh to Satan so that he may be saved in the day of the Lord. But here is Paul's advice. He states, but now, this is verse number 11, chapter number 5, but now I have written unto you not to keep company, if any man that is called a brother be a fornicator, or a covetous, or an idolater, or a railer, or a drunkard, or an extortioner. With such and one do not eat. Some might say, it doesn't mention homosexuality there. That's not the point. The point is if a brother is walking disorderly, we should not be around that individual. Why does Paul state this? Well, the idea is present, which we see a resolution of this in the second letter that he writes to the Corinthians. It seems as if the man repented. Why? Because by removing yourself from keeping company with this person now may be convicted that what they are doing is erroneous, it is wrong, and they may feel compelled to repent of what they're doing, understand that what they are doing is wrong, and therefore leave behind, completely repudiate their former way of being, which is the opposite of what people like Houston and Lentz are preaching. Can I ask you a question? Can I ask the viewer a question? If you call a homosexual a friend and homosexuals feel comfortable around Christians, is that a convicting presence? Absolutely not. If sinners feel comfortable around us, it probably means that we are not being salt and light to them, that we are, in a sense, giving approval, granting approbation of their life, and they will feel no conviction or the need to absolutely alter their existence, their sin. That's all I have to say about this, and I think the Bible is more than explicit on the matter. Visit our website, redlettersdialogues.com, redlettersdialogues.com. Questions or comments, you have the comment field below to do so. Or if you'd like to write us a more personal email, or if you'd like to write a dissertation, email us, info@redlettersdialogues.com. Until the next edition, may the Lord shine his face upon you, and Godspeed.